on audio right now, so we're good.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, are you ready?
I am. Mackenzie, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Carrington?
Here.
Ms. Lloyd?
Here.
Mr. Parthmore?
Here.
Mr. Ramsdow?
Here.
Mr. Stanley?
Here.
Mr. Steineman?
Here.
Mr. Sternberg?
Here.
Ms. Weichel?
Here.
Mr. Daly?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here.
Mr. Bolts?
Here.
Great. Sounds like we're missing Michelle, but that's we can move forward with the quorum. Everyone has received the minutes. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes as is, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. With that, we'll move to current business. We do have a couple reappointments, I believe, with Cable and Robin, as well as Gail allowed her term to expire. But we also have a new member to our commission. That's Mr. Sean Daly. Sean, do you have anything to say? You'd like to introduce yourself?
Wow. I'm honored to be a part of this. The moment I set foot in Sandusky, when I moved my business and my family here, this is that I wanted to be a part of this commission and be a part of anything I can do to raise awareness of arts in this community. So thank you, guys.
Awesome. Great to have you.
Look forward to working with you. Thank you.
All right, we'll move to the City Hall art exhibit. I wanted to put this on the current business just to start the discussion. Hopefully we can get this program up and running this year, and hopefully it's just a rotator, a continuously evolving exhibit at the city, but we need to take the first steps to kind of get that moving. Wanted to open that discussion up, just to maybe see if we can set a timeline, get some ideas together. Initially, I was thinking this could be a June 2021 that would be at the City Hall until June of 2022, and then we would continuously revolve the exhibits. Anybody have any comments, discussions, ideas regarding the City Hall art exhibit?
I think summer is a great time. I actually was thinking about that last meeting when we started talking about it. And it would be really nice if then we could have some sort of opening, not be on the computer, but something fun in the summer to kind of spark like everybody's interest in what is there.
I agree.
Mr. Chairman. Mike, I don't know if anybody has stopped in City Hall recently, but I think an idea for some board members might be to visit the first floor lobby and check the lighting that currently exists there. We have a lot of white walls, so if anybody just wants to stop in and just check it out to see, especially I'm looking at you, Marcia, to check out the walls we got to see which ones you think would be appropriate for something like this, and give some feedback there.
What kind of lighting is presently there?
It's in my opinion, it's bright. It's a very it's a bright fluorescent.
But there's no track lighting that could just be on paintings. We're not going to have that kind of thing. It would just be the lighting that's there, correct?
Most likely, yes. We could look to see in the future to see if that's possible, but I wouldn't rule it out necessarily. Right now, it's just like long LED lights.
Well, I know in my gallery, I have both fluorescent that was already here, and then I put in track lights, and during openings I just have track lights on. So maybe something just to think about for the future,
Okay.
so that you're stuck with, But I'll definitely go and look.
Yeah, I'd be interested in your critique, Marcia.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely go look. I'll go check it out soon.
But I don't think that should prevent us from moving forward.
No, I don't either.
Right, it shouldn't. The only thing with doing it in June, I think about the second week of June would be really, really good to do it if you wanted to do it in June, because then you're going to, you should be avoiding Ohio Bike Week, not knowing this is for future, reference, not knowing what's going on with it this year as far as what we're allowed to do. And you'll also be avoiding Sandusky Pride, because Bike Week is the beginning of June and Pride is at the end. You might want to do it as like a separate, like a separate as its own individual event, instead of like coinciding it with other events like that.
Okay.
I have a question. How long is each show going to be up?
You said a full year, correct?
I mean, that's what we're here to really discuss. Is this something that is, a once a year thing? Are we thinking that it's maybe every 6 months it gets switched out? I guess that's what we're here to try to figure out what our parameters are, so we can give Greg some good feedback to start running with.
I would feel like right now, due to us not knowing what's going on with regulations and everything is just so up in the air, I feel like at least for the first one, stating that it's a year and seeing how it goes. That way, if it's hard to get different things transitioned in there, or if there is lighting that's coming and things like that, I think it would be easier if we just ran it like the very first one for at least a year long.
I agree.
I do too.
Yeah, I agree. Given the uncertainty of what's happening, that makes sense.
If we could, like you said, Robin, we could
don't really have any feel for the interest of artists or anything like that either at this point. So
that's true.
I think long though, maybe twice a year would be good once it gets established.
But I think
it's
the first year.
You broke up, Cable. What was that?
I said I think it sounds like we're in agreement for a full year, at least for the first year.
Yeah.
I agree. Yes.
I think so, unless anybody feels strongly otherwise.
That kind of falls in line. I've looked at researched other cities and communities that do a similar project, and they're typically, if they do multiple times a year, they go either seasonally or biannually. It's pretty common to be full year, biannual, or seasonal. So I think that all makes sense.
I think that it would be easier to increase than to start with more than annual and then pull it back. So just starting with 1 year, I think, is the way to go.
Yeah.
So can I speak for a second? I just had a question that maybe we've addressed.
Yeah, Cable, go ahead.
How are we attracting artists to this?
Thanks, Cable. I was actually going to ask the same question. Not only attraction, but also we're going to have to jury and on the actual artwork that goes in. So I drafting stuff based on some feedback you guys give me today and next month or two.
Yeah, Greg, that would be great. Does anybody have any comments on how that would be juried? So we could give Greg a little more input. Marcia, I'd probably lean on you a little bit on this.
I think at least to attract artists, we could create some kind of Facebook post and possibly Instagram. You can do multiple places like that, like Twitter or whatever. But from what I was reading, I wasn't part of the last meeting, you guys decided not to have like a contest where people were going to be awarded money, correct?
Right. We were going to use that money for lighting down the road.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Lighting and
but
hanging infrastructure. So like the
Yes.
actual equipment to hang the work.
Okay. But I think we should probably have at least some people from the commission, or we have a guest juror for each show. But I mean, those are the two options. But I think that if we had some people from the commission who could juror the show, but it would probably be hard if we all did it. You know. But I don't know. What is your take on that, Robin?
Well, I don't think if you wanted to do more local, we do have the I do have the page, the Public Arts Forum on Facebook, which generated a ton of people through there. But the only thing is we need to figure out what we're doing in City Hall. Like, you want to do a show, but are we theming the show? Like, is it something that the artist can grab onto, or do you want random pieces just throughout? You know, I think the biggest thing is where to start is figuring out if we want to theme the show that is going to be there all year round, or if we just want to select random pieces.
I think a theme for the show could be really cool, especially since we're going through this kind of change in 2021 and hopefully change. So, I don't know. Maybe we need to discuss like what kind of theme, some kind of hopeful.
Maybe that's the theme.
You know,
Post-COVID.
Maybe change is the theme. You know, a metamorphosis or you know a progression of things. You know, it's generic and broad enough where it can encompass a bunch of different ideas, but at the same time, you know, tie things together.
I love
I
that.
agree with that. I don't think it should be terribly specific. I think that would be wrong, especially for our first outing.
But something like metamorphosis could be good because that could encompass a lot of different things.
So maybe that's something to think about as we continue to move the conversation forward. So I'm hearing basically a grassroots type of social push on trying to find a local artist or local artists to participate is probably our method there. Greg, do we have any restrictions or anything when it comes to requests for qualifications and things like that for a project like this?
I'd have to double check with the law department, but I don't think so since there's no financial thing here. I think the restrictions may be in terms of size and like, well, we're going to need them framed for the show so we can hang them. That's probably more of the restrictions we'll get into. But let me do some more digging around and just make sure.
Yeah, that's a big thing too when it goes on to putting on the shows and everything. Once you figure out if we're gonna do a theme like change or something like that, just a very broad theme, then we also have to figure out either how many artists or that we want, or how many pieces. But above all, we need to look at wall space, because if one piece is just stellar and it's like 4 foot tall, you know, that's one thing. So I think we gauge how many pieces that we actually do by the size of the individual piece and based on how bad we want it there.
Or maybe they could have limited to one piece per artist that was in the show. I mean, again, I'll go and look at the space too. But
yeah, but if you have like 30, 40 artists and only a wall that's so big, you know, I think that we should just base it off of space instead of like X amount of artists are in the show. And I think that we just have people maybe submit pieces that they would like to see hung in City Hall, that they would like to donate for a year in City Hall. They submit that and submit the size. That way we can do some calculations and see what would fit.
Yeah, I mean that, or when we go to advertise this, maybe we just say the maximum area could be length by width, you know, and measure a spot on a wall, whether it's the whole corridor, whether it's just Yep. A small vertical wall. I mean, those could give other artists many options to work. So it sounds to me like we need to think about location first and foremost, followed by a date, and kind of a date for a deadline is a self-imposed deadline on when we want to physically have the show, as well as a theme, and then how are we going to juror this?
Sure. So I'll walk through. Go ahead, Marcia.
Sorry. I think if you have a guest juror, sometimes you have to pay those jurors, but just a thought, from someone locally, but that could be a juror as well. And also, I do have a question. Are the pieces able to be for sale in the shows or not?
That's another item I'll have to check.
I would check with legal department on that.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we're allowed to use city. We permit stuff on city property for like vendors, so I'll just have to check with that. I'm gonna recap kind of some things here and see if I'm on the right page to do some homework for next month. The one thing I think I want to get a jump start on is looking at some sort of infrastructure to hang the artwork that is really adaptable and kind of can be up there all the time and be movable. I think I've seen some stuff where it's like almost on tracks, but the line or the cable is like you could kind of move stuff around on cables. The theme, I think we're on the right page there. I'll start working on the check about the restrictions and whether we're allowed for sale. We got the date, and then I'll start working on kind of a program or like a pamphlet that we can hand out to potential artists that kind of goes through all of this stuff at the same time and have something ready for next month. If that makes sense.
That sounds good.
That would be great. Does anybody have any other comments for Greg regarding the City Hall exhibit discussion?
Instead of just having them for sale, you can always just put up the artist info, like the information to the artist, instead of having it look like it's being sold through City Hall. I think it'd be better just to throw up the artist information. If somebody's very interested in buying that piece, then they would contact the artist.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I also think that the deadline should be several months before art is due. Just from my own experience.
So do we think mid-June is realistic?
I
would probably say July.
Yeah.
Cable, is that?
I was thinking it sounded a bit optimistic. Yeah. Just from my experience with the Sandusky Cultural Center.
If you wanted to put that stuff up by July, you would want it in May.
Yeah, I agree. At least, or at least knowing who's in it. You might not hang it until close to opening, but you have all the particulars down by then.
Okay.
It really kind of depends what you get done between now and next month, Greg.
Yes.
How confident we are with what we have,
To be honest with you, I work better when I have some tasks in front of me, so I appreciate this. This is great.
Do we need any type of motions for you, Greg, or are you good?
I don't believe so right now. It's I think next month we may have some ready. So I got some good marching orders.
Good. Very exciting project. Hopefully we can get this off the ground. I guess with that, we can move into the grant programs and community engagement. No, we had this scheduled back in March of 2020. Just wanted to see what people's thoughts were with maybe looking to start that up again here, maybe midsummer. Try to get more of a gathering together if we could. If not, we could always just keep it digital. which would be fine as well. Any thoughts on the community engagement for the grant programs?
Yeah, I just think we have to sit back still and just wait because there's so many just unknown variables that can come into play. Like we can pop something up real quick for community engagement. We can do that in a month's time. But right now, I wouldn't move forward with it, at least until probably next month.
I was thinking more along the lines of something virtual, whether it's a simple social media post to make people aware of the program. And then maybe it's more of a physical engagement in the summertime if we can afford to do it.
Mr. Chairman, I could work with Mackenzie on a social media post. I know, I believe we were okay with the grant program as with the from last year, so I just changed the year on that. Do on that social media post is offer my phone number and offer like one-on-one Teams meetings for people that may have questions. I know that's probably the biggest stumbling block is people think it's going to be a bureaucratic nightmare, which it might be depending on the project. But Mackenzie laughed. But part of our job is to guide them through that process as much as we can. So I don't want that to hold people back from applying because there's money there ready to be used. And a social media post with some openness for interaction, I think might go a long ways.
Yeah, really, it's all about awareness. Keep the community engaged and aware of programs that are available.
Yeah, I think that if you did do one that was from the city, and if I could get my hands on that and reshare whatever you launch out, I think we could do. I think that we'd get a pretty good response on that.
Okay, I think we have to wait till the budget is approved in March, though. I think that's what held us up last year. And then we all know what happened in March of last year. So let's try that again this year.
I don't mean to interject, but Mr. Chairman and Greg, the budget actually got approved at the last commission meeting.
All right, so we can get moving. We do have to get the work plan approved then.
When does the work plan get approved? Is that March?
I can move it up earlier now. It usually gets approved with the budget, but I didn't realize the budget was going at the end of the year. So we'll put it on a city commission meeting coming up soon.
Great. And I guess let us know once that's approved, if it's approved, and then we can run with that social media post shortly thereafter. We can keep that on your agenda there, Greg.
Yep. Awesome.
All right. Any other comments on the grant program, community engagement wise? Okay. Go ahead, Greg.
No, I was just going to say, please feel free to share, like, even if it's just informal with your networks, that it's out there and get people thinking about it.
There are things we can link to off the city's website.
It is still on the city's website. It's under, if you go to planning and zoning, it's under the Arts and Culture Commission, I believe. And actually, I just create if you go to cityofsandusky.com and then /public art, it should take you to the website as well. So we shortened that access. So for all the attention on the internet, that's how you get there.
Thank you for that.
Great. Last agenda item. I wanted to put this up there about the downtown master plan presentation. I believe that's next week, 7 p.m. That'll be live streamed, Greg?
Right. They'll be on YouTube at 7. You'll see we don't have the final plan yet. We're still working through some revisions. But from what there's public art and culture and events is mentioned extremely frequently throughout. As part of the survey back in the summer, that was something that was a constant theme. So I think this commission's going to have its hands full and hands all over the implementation of the plan. So we're excited to show it off.
All right, what day is that? What time again?
January 27th. That's Wednesday at 7 p.m.
And you said that's going to be on YouTube?
Yeah, it's going to be the Planning Commission. But instead of sitting through the regular agenda items, we wanted to set aside a time specifically for the plan so that people didn't have to sit through 2 hours of regular Planning Commission agenda items.
Perfect.
By all means, feel free to join us for that too. It's always exciting.
How do we get to that?
Is it youtube.com/City of Sandusky, Mackenzie? Do you remember?
I actually just go to the search feature and type in City of Sandusky, and all of our videos come up, and it'll be the first one. But it might be youtube.com/City of Sandusky. I can verify that right now and come back and tell you in a second.
It is not that. I just checked. Also on cityofsandusky.com, there's a little YouTube symbol up in the corner.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'd encourage everyone to watch that presentation. Looks like there's going to be a lot for us in the pipelines. That's a good thing. I guess that wraps up our current business. We can move to old business. Anyone have any items of old business?
The only thing I was going to show, I'm going to share my screen real quick here. Let's see here. I just want to show you the formatting. It's going to look very familiar to all of you over the last few years. Oops, wrong one. Wrong one. This is what happens, Mackenzie. Now I'm all messed up.
While you're finding that, there's some stuff going on in the chat bar in Jordan, and I found out that you can also just do youtube.com/City of Sandusky OH. To find that.
Thank you.
You'll see that for most of you, this looks very familiar. It's the same format we've used the last 2 years. But it's kind of all the projects that we discussed. I haven't made many changes. And but that's all I got. Sorry, Robin, I know you can't see it.
I was going to say, I can't see anything. So.
Great, thanks, Greg.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to new business. Tonight we have our 2021 officer nominations. Do we have any nominations for chair or vice chair? We'll start with chair.
I recommend Brian Stanley.
I'd second that.
All right, are there any more nominations for chair? Without hearing none, we will have a roll call vote. I would accept the nomination. Sorry, I should have said that before the roll call vote. But Mackenzie, would you please take roll?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Carrington?
Aye.
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Ramsdell?
Yes.
Mr. Stanley?
Abstain.
Mr. Steinman?
Yes.
Mr. Sternberg?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Newell? Oh, kidding. Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Great, look forward to another fun year. With that, do we have any nominations for vice chair?
I'd recommend Mr. Steineman.
I'll accept that.
I would second that nomination. Any other nominations for vice chair? If not, Mackenzie, would you please call roll on vice chair for cable?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Carrington?
Yes.
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Parkmore?
Yes.
Mr. Ramsdell?
Yes.
Mr. Stanley?
Yes.
Mr. Steineman?
Abstain.
Mr. Sternberg?
Yes.
Ms. Weichel?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Volz?
Yes.
All right, with that, does anybody have any other items of new business? Anyone have any objection to an adjournment? All in favor?
Adjourn.